Jorinda and Joringel. A big shout out to Rodwin and Monsieur Pompadour for requesting today's story. In the heart of a vast and ancient forest, older than the oldest towns and thicker than any living memory, there stood a crumbling stone castle. It rose out of the tangled woodland like a dark tooth, half devoured by moss and shadow. Travelers rarely came near it, for even in daylight, the place felt drenched in secrets. Birds fell silent in its presence, and animals skirted its boundaries with wide, frightened eyes. This castle was home to an old woman who lived entirely alone. Though to call her a woman was true only in the loosest sense. She was a witch, one both feared and whispered about by the countryside. No one knew her name. No one dared to ask. She kept to herself, but her powers reached far beyond the ruined stones. During the day, she did not remain in human form. Instead, she slipped into the skin of a cat, lurking through the castle halls with narrow, watchful eyes, or else became a screech owl, gliding on silent wings through the lamplit corridors. But when evening returned and darkness reunited its shadows, she took back her true shape, resuming her form as a bent and crooked woman with a hooked nose and eyes that glowed like embers. The forest creatures were not safe from her. With a whisper or a gesture, she could lure wild beasts and birds from their dens and nests. Wolves crept toward her meek as lambs. Sparrows dropped willingly into her palms. And once they reached her hands, their fate was sealed. She killed them without mercy, boiling or roasting them for her dinner. Yet her greatest cruelty was reserved for the innocent maidens who wandered too close to the castle walls. Anyone, man, woman, beast or bird, who crossed within 100 paces of the castle found their bodies suddenly stiffen, as if roots had grown around their feet. They were forced to stand motionless until the witch herself chose to release them. But if the intruder happened to be a young maiden, untouched by wrongdoing and sweet in heart, she faced a far worse doom. With a spell muttered under the witch's breath, the girl would be transformed instantly into a bird, often a nightingale, and sealed away forever inside a wicker cage. Inside the castle walls, in a hidden chamber, the witch kept row upon row of these cages, each holding a rare and delicate bird that had once been a girl. No one had ever returned from that fate. Not far from the forest's edge lay a quiet village surrounded by meadows and gentle streams. Here lived a maiden named Jorinda, whose beauty was spoken of in every cottage and along every road. Jorinda had pledged her heart to a young man named Joringel. He was strong of build, thoughtful of manner, and devoted entirely to her. The two had grown up together, and their affection had bloomed naturally, as constant as the seasons. They were betrothed, and though their wedding day had not yet arrived, they lived in a happiness so gentle and warm that the whole village felt it in their presence. Their greatest joy was spending time alone, speaking quietly of the future they hoped to build, of the cottage they wanted, of the children they dreamed of raising, of the life they believed lay ahead of them. But Joringel, like all who lived near the forest, knew the stories of the witch. He knew the warnings as well as any child. Never approach the old castle. Never wander too deep beneath the ancient canopy. Never lose your way when the light grows dim. So he cautioned Jorinda often, especially when they walked together. Still, in their youth and trust, the danger felt distant, like a tale told by frightened parents. One bright and golden evening, Jorinda and Joringel set out for a walk beneath the forest's edge. The air smelled of pine and young leaves. The lovers walked hand in hand, speaking little. Something gentle yet heavy pressed upon them both, though neither could explain it. Jorinda, her emotions stirred by a sudden melancholy, sat down for a moment in a patch of fading sunlight. Tears slipped quietly down her cheeks.
We are sorrowful today, as if some shadow is upon us.
It felt as though the air itself was thickening. A strange stillness crept through the forest. When they rose to return home, they found themselves disoriented. The path had vanished. The shadows looked longer than before. The sun hung half above the distant hill, half below it, drowning the woods in an eerie half-light. Joringel looked through a patch of bushes and froze. There, closer than he had ever imagined, rose the crumbling walls of the witch's castle. A chill shot through him. Every story he had ever heard rushed back at once. His breath left him. His limbs felt like water. He spun around to warn Jorinda, but even as he opened his mouth, she began to sing, as though compelled by a force not her own.
My little bird with the necklace red sings sorrow, sorrow, he sings, that the dove must soon be dead. Sing sorrow, sorg, jug, jug.
Before Joringel could reach her, her voice faltered, then shifted. Instead of words, a nightingale's call spilled from her throat. He watched in horror as Jorinda shrank, her form dissolving into a tiny, trembling bird with soft feathers and a delicate red mark around her neck. A sharp flutter of wings cut through the air. A screech owl darted out of the shadows, its eyes glowing like twin coals. It circled Joringel 3 times, each pass accompanied by its terrible cry. The moment the owl completed its circling, Joringel felt his entire body lock in place. He was trapped, frozen in mid-step. As the sun disappeared fully behind the hill, the owl vanished into a nearby thicket. In its place emerged the witch. Muttering to herself, she reached out, grabbed the nightingale Jorinda, and held her in her palm and walked away. Joringel's heart screamed, but no sound left his lips. When the witch returned from the castle, she stared at him with a hollow, echoing voice.
Greet thee, Zachiel. If the moon shines on the cage, Zachiel, let him loose at once.
At those words, Joringel felt the invisible bonds fall away. Air rushed into his lungs. His knees gave out, and he collapsed before her, begging, pleading, reaching toward her with desperation that knew no dignity.
Give her back to me. Please, please give her back. She is my Jorinda, my heart, my life.
You shall never, ever have her again.
Without another word, she turned and vanished into the darkness of her castle, leaving Joringel broken and alone in the quiet clearing. For a long time, Joringel wandered aimlessly, his heart torn open by grief. Days passed without meaning or measure. He ate little, slept little, and found no comfort in anything. Only the memory of Jorinda's voice and the sight of her delicate bird form haunted him, looping endlessly through his mind. Eventually, exhausted and hollow, he reached a village far from his own. There he found work tending sheep, moving through the days like a ghost. Yet within him, a quiet determination smoldered. He would not abandon Jorinda to her fate. Often he returned to the forest, circling its edges, staring at the distant silhouette of the castle. He prayed for guidance, for a sign, anything that might reveal a path to freeing her. And at last, an answer came. One night, Joringel dreamt more vividly than he had in months. He saw a flower blooming in a clearing, its petals a deep, blood-red color, luminous and soft as silk. At its center rested a pearl of exquisite beauty that glowed like a drop of moonlight. In his dream, he reached for the flower, and when he grasped it, he felt a surge of power unlike anything he had known. He touched a stone with it, and the stone glowed. He touched a bird cage, and the bars melted away. He touched the form of a nightingale, and the bird transformed into a maiden. He woke with a start, his breath sharp in his throat, his heart hammering with new hope. The dream had felt too real to ignore. At dawn, he set out with nothing but determination and began to search. Over hills, through meadows, across brooks and beneath tangled branches he wandered. He searched valleys, ravines, and high rocky slopes. He overturned stones and sifted through thick undergrowth, always looking for the blood-red bloom with the shining pearl. Days passed, then a week. Still, he did not give up. On the 9th morning, just as the first light broke across the land, he saw a glimmer beside a mossy rock. There it was, the flower from his dream. Its petals glowed richly, and at its heart shimmered a drop of dew as large and pure as a pearl. With the magic flower carefully protected, Joringel traveled day and night until he reached the forest once more. His fear, though present, was drowned by purpose. He moved with certainty that the flower would protect him and guide him. He touched the door with the red flower. It burst open. Inside, the castle was silent, except for the faint fluttering of wings echoing through the stone halls. He followed the sound through twisting corridors until he reached a large chamber illuminated by dim light filtering through narrow windows. The witch stood among them, feeding handfuls of seed to her prisoners. The moment she saw Joringel, fury erupted across her face. She shrieked, spat venomous words, and lunged toward him, but something invisible stopped her 2 paces away. She clawed at the air, but could not cross the barrier. The flower's power repelled her as surely as if a wall of glass stood between them. Joringel turned from her screams and began searching feverishly through the cages. But how could he hope to find Jorinda? There were thousands of nightingales, all identical at a glance, their voices blending into a sorrowful chorus. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement. The witch was quietly taking a cage from its hook and creeping toward the exit, clutching it tightly, as though hoping to slip away unnoticed. A spark of recognition jolted through Joringel. He leapt toward her. Before the witch could escape, Joringel reached her and touched the cage with the red flower. A soft glow spread through the wicker, and the spell binding the bird inside dissolved with a sigh. Before him stood Jorinda. She flung her arms around his neck, and he held her as though afraid she might vanish once more. The witch shrieked, but Joringel touched her with the flower too. Instantly, her power evaporated. The glow left her eyes. Her body sagged, weakened. She could no longer transform, no longer ensnare, no longer enchant. another living soul. The cages throughout the room rattled. One by one, their doors creaked open. Birds flew out in great swirling clouds. Some transformed mid-flight into maidens who sank to their knees, tears streaming down their faces. Others escaped through the windows, reclaiming their freedom, even if their human forms were long lost to time. Holding Jorinda close, Joringel led her out into the sunlight. The forest birds sang overhead, no longer hushed by the witch's presence. The ancient castle loomed behind them, powerless at last. Side by side, the lovers walked home, towards the village that had long mourned Jorinda's disappearance, towards a future restored by devotion, courage, and unfaltering hope. And when their wedding day finally came, the bells rang with a sweetness unmatched by any birdsong in the forest.